Hello and thank you for watching today's repair tutorial. In today's video, we're going to show you how to repair the ignition on a GoGo scooter. Customer dropped off one of their GoGo scooters. The ignitions work the same on all GoGo mobility scooters and most mobility scooters. We're going to show you how to fix an ignition and how to diagnose a scooter that has a ignition that is intermittently turning on and off or intermittently working or not working. Usually on the bottom side of the handlebar assembly, aka the tiller assembly, there are going to be a set of screws. For this model, there's 6 screws. We're unscrewing those screws from the bottom of the tiller assembly so that we can open up the dash completely and expose the connection points for the ignition, as well as checking all of the harnesses and wire connections to make sure nothing's loose. A lot of the time, you will see that over the years, especially if your scooter gets wet, these mobility scooters are not rainproof, they're not waterproof, so you should always keep them away from rain or any kind of water or even high levels of humidity. You want to store them indoors where it's dry and not really keep them outside in humid weather, especially if you live near salt water. So we've taken out all the screws, and I just want to show you that the ignition itself is loose and completely coming out. It's very common to see this, unfortunately. Customers do wait a long time before bringing their scooter in for repairs and service. Now, the ignition is held into place with a screw-style nut that rotates and screws onto the base of the ignition. As you can see, it came completely loose, so I'm just fishing it through the wires and pushing it up against the base of the ignition module, which has threading on it. So that silver ring actually will tighten up. All you have to do is go ahead and twist it clockwise like I'm doing here with one hand and working the camera with my other hand. We do make all of these videos in-house, so I apologize if the video is a little bit shaky, but we're showing you here that that nut there is the securement nut that locks the ignition into place. So if you see that your ignition's a little loose or wobbly and turning when you turn the key, that's what you need to do. You need to tighten that nut and it will secure itself. So we just put the battery on, we twisted the key into the on position, and the ignition's not working. So there's something going on with the ignition more than likely, and what we usually do is just check all of the wire connections inside of the dash, the tiller dash assembly here, to see if we can get the lights to go on. And what we're noticing now is just fidgeting with the wires and all the harness connectors. If we apply pressure, it turns on. So we should then start tugging on all the little wires that connect somewhere to see which wire is becoming loose or possibly desoldered. Most of these wire connections are soldered to some sort of module, and in this case, one of the wires that connects to the probes on the ignition became loose, and I'm tugging on it and noticing that the power is going on and off. If I tug hard enough, I notice the wire is actually completely desoldered, and it's only being held on by a piece of heat shrink. The heat shrink basically is a piece of tubing that when you heat it up, it shrinks and gets tight around your connections and prevents any shorting so that you don't have a positive and a negative making contact. So what I'm doing here is taking off the heat shrink, applying a little bit of solder after stripping the wire back to expose the wire threading. And basically by putting a little piece of solder there, it's going to allow you to resolder it right to the connection point. I am putting another piece of heat shrink right over the wire before resoldering that wire to the probe that it was originally connected to. So you will need experience with a soldering iron. And once you go ahead and melt that solder, you may need a little flux. In this case, we did not. You want to go ahead afterwards and just slide that piece of heat shrink over the exposed connection so that there aren't any shorts in the future with those wires moving around. You can use a lighter to shrink the heat shrink, or just use your soldering iron by quickly touching your soldering iron over the heat shrink. Give it a little tug test, make sure that your wires aren't intermittently causing power outages again, and you should be good to go ahead and re-screw those screws at the bottom of the tiller assembly to go ahead and seal that tiller assembly up like it was. Again, these scooters are not waterproof, they're not rain resistant. The reason why this is happening is because this customer never used a weatherproof cover and transported the scooter on the back of a vehicle in a hitch lift style scooter carrier that's outside. And in Florida, it rains a lot. It's very humid. This customer lived by the beach, so everything in the tiller dash was rusty. You need to use a weather cover, and it's not a bad idea to spray your connections down with some sort of anti-corrosive spray like T9 or WD-40 lightly. I hope this video has been helpful. Please do subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit that notification bell so that when we release new videos like this one, you get notified. We appreciate you watching. Please leave any questions in the comments section below and feel free to share this video. Don't forget, you can always request a free catalog by visiting our website Mobility Direct and clicking on the green tab at the top of the page that says Free Catalog. I'm Sergio with Mobility Direct. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.